Find the stream. Hopefully it isn't too far away. Loading on as I speak. Not fully loaded just yet onto the stream. There it is there. Audio is working as it should. The stream's up, the chat's up, we're all good to go. So that's absolutely fantastic. Well, hello everyone and welcome to round 14 of the PlayStation Pacific Tier 1 Championship here on Race Spec Esports. I'm LaneEveringham, your commentator for this event, and this time we're racing at the Albert Park Street Circuit for the Australian Grand Prix. Constructed in 1996, the circuit was made to be the replacement for the Adelaide Street Circuit to host Grand Prix racing. Over a span of 25 years, the circuit remained unchanged. That was until 2021, where a decision was made to revamp the racetrack for modern motorsport. The circuit is now much faster and in certain areas wider, with the idea of the redesign being to create exciting high-speed racing. The circuit now measures up at 5.28 kilometres, consists of 14 corners and 3 DRS zones that lead into Turn 1, Turn 3 and the re-profiled Turn 11. The Clark chicane, located after the Turn 8 sweeper, has now been removed, creating a flat-out section from Turn 8 all the way up to the circuit's most demanding and dangerous part, the high-speed kinks of Turns 9 and 10. Now, before we fully focus on this qualifying session, there is a bit of news to go through first from last week's race at Abu Dhabi. There were 2 incident reports handed to the stewards. There was an incident between iContrust and Ferrari Pro that resulted in no further action, and Plevs managed to get a illegal... He got a warning for cutting the track whilst going into the pits. The stewards deemed that the warning was unfair, so he got a time penalty removed, which was given to him during the race. With that time penalty removed, Plevs would finish in P11 rather than in P13 in the final results. Another bit of news is that GeForce Leo has accumulated enough penalty points that he has to serve a qualifying ban in this race, hence why you see his name greyed out on the leaderboard. So, the championship, the big talking point heading into this race. GeForce Ford is our championship leader on 339 points, followed by GeForce Crichton on 322. 17 points separate the top 2 in the championship, and as it stands, GeForce Ford can become world champion if he finishes in first place with fastest lap and Crichton finishes in 9th. If Fordy just wins the race, Crichton, if he finishes 10th or lower, will lose the championship. And if Fordy finishes in 2nd position, the championship will go on to the final round at Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much, Spicy, for this information as well. He gave it to us in the Discord, so thank you very much for that. Now, looking at the rest of the championship right now, Spicy, the man who I mentioned earlier, is P3 on 194, followed by his teammate GeForce Leo on 191, only 3 points separating the 2 McLaren drivers. Plevs is next in P5 on 169, followed by iContrust on 159. Spitley in P7 on 130, followed by Ferrari Pro on 103. Darren 11 is P9 on 86, followed by Isaac Kush, rounding out the top 10 on 85 points. In the Constructors, Ferrari are leading on 405, followed by McLaren on 385. 20 points separating the top 2 in the Constructors, with Mercedes AMG third on 369. Alpine are next on 239, followed by AlphaTauri on 183, Alfa Romeo 164. Haas is P7 on 146. They are 1 point in front of Red Bull Racing on 145. 10 points behind them is Williams on 135. And completing the table is Aston Martin on 47 points. But that's pretty much it. In terms of news, we can now focus on this qualifying session. Hello ACW, hello Gavin, nice to see you both in the chat. 30 minutes into the race, we're meant to have some rain, so some mixed conditions for the drivers to deal with during the race. Very interesting as Vision jumps to the top of the table with an 18.0. I still have a feeling though, even with the wet weather conditions coming during the race, I imagine a fair few drivers will be still running a dry setup for both qualifying and the beginning of the race. So Yeah, that's bound to be interesting. And normally I would introduce my co-commentator, who is usually GeForce Pato. He is unable to attend today's event, so I'm on my lonesome for this event here in Australia. This is Zach Kush jumps to the top with a 17.256. Yellow flags are added to Ferraris of Bags Liddell. Yes, it was Bags. We've got a slow Red Bull making his way through the final sector. Must be Grimmy. He's the only Red Bull in the field. It's Bags Liddell. He was actually on a flying lap. Might have got impeded from Grimmy's Red Bull. He'll head up and cross the line. What time will he set? He'll set an 18.0. That would be good enough for P5. He'd be just in front of Vision. And Bags actually had a really solid race here in the Elite Series. Ended up finishing second. The man who won the race is also in this event, and that's Plevs, who is currently P3 with a 17.6. He's doing a lot better in qualifying than what he did on Sunday. On Sunday, we had wet weather conditions, and nobody, and I mean nobody, liked those wet weather conditions. Here in the dry, though, everyone is faring quite a lot better. 40, our championship leader, is now making his way through the final sector. Around the newly configured turn 11, up towards turn 12, dabble the brakes back on the accelerator, using plenty of curb on the outside. And around the penultimate corner, turn 13, and around the final turn 14, probably the most important corner on the racetrack, because this corner will dictate how much speed you carry down the main straightaway. And 40 only carried a fair chunk of speed. A 17.018 is his time at the moment. Crichton getting ready to set a flying lap. He's on an out lap as I speak. Bags Liddell is on an in lap, I believe. Wild Boy getting ready. Contrast getting ready as well. Darren, he's moving back into he's out of fuel. You can tell on the telemetry. He's got a solid red fuel icon, so he's dawdling his way back into the pits. Make his way in, put on another set of tyres and get back out there. No, I imagine the wet weather conditions we're going to see in the race is definitely going to shake things up. Oh, I see. That's okay. Yeah. Didn't know that Grimmy was having some hardware issues. Those are always really annoying to try and deal with when it's not the game, it's actually your own kit that is letting you down. Hopefully Grimmy can find a way around it. As Crichton will begin a flying lap. Tell you what, we're right on board with him. Give you a guided tour of this 5.3 kilometre racetrack. Into turn 1, down from 8th gear, down to 5th gear. Through turn 2, you have to carry so much speed through turn 1, and you need to be fully committed through turn 2 as well to carry as much speed as possible as they head into turn 3. Down to 3rd gear, back on the accelerator, and around turn 4. Not using the brake there, just lifting off the accelerator as he heads around turn 5. Fully committed around here as well. You can take it flat, but you do have to be careful with the curves. Around turn 6, into turn 7 with the back end stepping out slightly, and around the right-hand sweeper of turn 8. Now it's just foot to the floor stuff as they head up towards turn 9. This was planned to be a DRS zone on the original reconfiguration, but the FIA said it was too dangerous. Into turn 9, 7th gear. Through turn 10, a little bit of understeer there in a place where you don't want understeer at all. Crichton did a really good job keeping the car straight. Around turn 11, going in deep, but using all of the curb on the outside there. Around turn 12, he's invalidated as well, I failed to notice. Maybe used a bit too much curb on the outside of turn 11. Around turn 13, and he goes into the pits. Another thing that the drivers have to be worried about, that pit lane entry is quite narrow. So you don't want to be too lackadaisic as you go into the pits, because if you are, you might clip the wall and damage your wing. Not only that, but with the reconfiguration, it means that the pit lane is wider, which increases the speed limit. It goes up from 60 to 80 kilometers an hour. So something that the drivers must keep in mind. You still have to slow down quite a bit, though, as you go into the pits. I saw a few drivers, including one ACW who was in the chat, get a speeding penalty for outbraking himself as he went into the pits. So drivers still need to be very, very careful. Now, Grimmy making his way through turns 9 and 10. Easily the signature part of the racetrack. It's an area of the racetrack where you can so easily get it wrong. But you can gain so much time if you get it right. You're fully committed through the section and you get absolutely spot on. You gain time not only through the section but also down the following straight as you head down towards turn 11. So it's a key area to get absolutely spot on. Same with this final corner. As I mentioned earlier, this corner dictates how much speed you carry down the main straightaway. And it's a long main straight until you reach the finish line as Grimmy goes P8 with a 17.9. Still got a few drivers yet to set laps, and we're at the halfway mark of the session. We've got just over 8 minutes left in qualifying. Hello, Mighty Wombat as well. Yeah, look, ACW, I think we've all done that in the past where we're all caught out of how quickly the pit lane speed limiter line just comes. It does catch us out. There's some tracks where it's a lot more noticeable, particularly racetracks like Silverstone and Monza. Those two circuits tend to bring about a fair few speeding penalties while entering the pits, because you approach them at such high speed. You have to slow them down to... it's Bags Liddell. You have to be so careful when you use that outside curb. You have to slow them down to 80 kilometers an hour at Monza and 60 kilometers an hour at Silverstone. You have to be extraordinarily careful. Up towards turn 13 goes Bags Liddell, making his way around the left-hander and around the right-hander and back onto the main straightaway. Oh, and there's a Haas that's spun in front. That must be Isaac Kush, and he was on a flying lap. So that attempt has been ruined. Flick spins it pretty well back in the right direction, but he does an 18.1. Currently the top 11 separated by 1.1 seconds. G-Force Crichton getting ready to set another flying lap. G-Force Ford appears to have backed off out of a flying lap. Maybe made a mistake somewhere that I didn't quite catch, but seems that he's backed off. Darren 11 appears to have backed off as well. He's currently P3. Spicy's just improved to a 17.468. He's P5 at the moment. Karma making his way through the first sector. He doesn't appear to be pushing either. He's not using any battery. Roscoe might be on an in-lap. Hillez, he's invalidated this run, so this lap won't count. Better keep our eye then on Crichton, who is currently last. Needs to put a time on the board. For the sake of his championship, he does not want to start last here for the Australian Grand Prix with so much at stake. He's currently purple, according to the mini-map, to the middle sector. He opens DRS and heads down towards turn 11. Big braking zone here, braking from 317 kilometers an hour to an apex speed of just under 120. It's a properly big braking zone. We might see a few passes through that section, I'm sure. We definitely saw a couple in the Elite Series. Around turn 13, up towards turn 14. Nicely done there from Crichton. No oversteer, no nothing. That car looks pretty spot on. Crosses the line. It's P4 though. 17.364. It's a time at the very, very least. And he has time left on the qualifying clock to get back into the pits, put on another set of tyres and go out for at least one more run. There's that Kush. I think he's on an in-lap. Eye contrast. Are you on a flyer? Certainly looks like it. And into turn 3. And around turn 4. Yeah, it looks like you're pushing. Through this car pass section and around turn 5. Up towards the first sector split. There's a Red Bull in front. Gets well out of the way. Well done, Grimmy. Well done. As contrast is down, but not by much. By only 20 thousandths of a second. Karma, meanwhile, is on a in-lap, I believe. Hillez has crashed out of qualifying. We're going to ride on board here with Karma. See where he's ended up. Oh, he's hit the inside wall. So easy to do. At the exit of turn 10, probably lost it on the outside curb and spun it into the right-hand side wall. I think all of us watching and all of us competing have done that at least once around here at Albert Park. It's super easy to do. Ooh, not a great place to be there for G-Force Crichton. It didn't impede eye contrast though. His lap was invalidated a few corners ago. So he's come back into the pits. Wogboy, it seems he's just done a flying lap. A 17.895. Currently puts him P10. He's only just under 9/10 off pole position. That's how close it is here at Albert Park. From P1 all the way down to P11, that is 1 second, under 1 second. Vision is just outside of that 1 second range, and he's on an outlap getting ready. Everyone else, though, they're in the pits, or they're about to enter the pits. Except for Grimmy. looks like you're on a flying lap. Currently P11 with a 17.9. First sector says he's down, but not by much, by 1/10 of a second. See if he can find any time in the second and final sectors. Here in the second sector, it's pretty straightforward. It's just foot-to-the-floor stuff. If you gain time, it sort of suggests you've got a low downforce setup. Let's see what the clock says. He has gained time, just a little bit of time. He's apparently purple according to the minimap, or running wide. You have to be so careful when you run right. I can't speak. You have to be so careful when you run wide through there, because the game can play tricks on you. You can spin your car out, just like with Hilles, and put you into the wall. Out to turn 12 and up towards turn 13. You shift it down to third gear, short shift up to fourth. Keep it in fourth gear around the final corner, and then eventually hit full throttle just before the outside curve. He'll cross the line to set a 17.563. He found a whole chunk of time in the final sector. P7 at the moment, with that lap just behind Spicy, and Ferrari Pro, who is on an out lap, getting himself ready. Now, speaking of flying lap, Vision has just begun one, and we're closing in on 2 minutes to go in the session, so we'll have drivers pouring out of the pits, getting themselves ready for their final runs in qualifying. Yellow flags were out. I think that's Ferrari Pro just trying to slow down, get himself ready. Vision out of turn 4 and around turn 5 up towards turn 6. What will the clock say here? To the first sector, he's up by just over 1/10 of a second. Through turn 7 and around turn 8. Absolutely flat out in the dry, but we'll see though in the wet conditions it's a bit different, that's for sure. Up towards turn 9, incredibly fast left-hander. It requires full commitment as he's up by 2.5 tenths. Around turn 10, similar story with turn 9. You have to be fully committed to get the optimal amount of time through that corner. And up towards turn 11, hard on the brakes. Down to third gear, back on the accelerator, using all of the curb on the outside there without getting a warning. Around turn 12, up towards turn 13, down to second gear, up to third, up to fourth, around the final corner, up to fifth gear, back onto the main straightaway, up towards the line for Vision. It's a 17.563. He's just set the exact same time as Grimmy, and we've seen both laps. How about that? Ha ha! Oh, that's a first. That is a first. Seeing both laps almost in full, not completely in full, but almost in full. And they set the exact same lap time. How about that? All right, Crichton, what have you got? He was so disappointed with himself last week at Abu Dhabi. Says he wasn't driving like himself. Well, he needs to drive like himself here. He's currently P4 with a 17.3. His championship rival is 3.5 tenths in front. He knows the target he has to try and match. Can he do it? That is the question. Out of turn 4, up towards turn 5, fully committed through here. Almost flat out. I saw a little safety lift through there, but he's up. He's up by just over 1/10 of a second as he heads around turn 8. Darren 11 is just following behind as well. He's P3. Is that Kush to the first sector is up, but not by much, by only 1/1000th of a second. G-Force Ford, meanwhile, is making his way around turn 4 and up towards turn 5. We'll see what Crichton's up to first. To the middle sector, he's up still by 1.5 tenths. Now he has to be fully committed through this final sector if he wants any chance of taking pole position away from G-Force Ford, who is making his way around turn 8 and towards the middle sector split. Crichton, meanwhile, around turn 12, up towards turn 13. Needs to get this corner, it's pretty spot on. Down to third gear, does it beautifully. 40, meanwhile, is up and up by a chunk, by 2.5 tenths. What can Crichton pull out at the end of quali? Spicy goes to P2. Crichton takes it away from him, and Darren takes it away from him. Darren P2 with a 17.085, but 40's up massively. Kush goes to the top. A 16.991, but 40. He's up by a fair chunk to the middle sector as he heads around the final corner and back down the main straightaway. What will this time look like? It's a 16.745. It is pole position for G-Force Ford, a critical pole position in the context of this championship. What a lap. Only 2 drivers in the 16s at the end of qualifying. Ford and Kush, Darren 11 P3, and Crichton will start from 4th. You'll have work to do, but he is on the second row. It might give him a window of opportunity to try and battle forward on the opening lap, but he needs a good start. Spicy P5, not much separating a fair few of these guys. 1/10 separating these three exactly between Darren 11 and Spicy Salami. Grimmy and Vision ended up setting the exact same lap time, and the entire field is separated by just over 1 second. But this is what form, confidence and consistency looks like. 40 is on fire at the moment. He's put everything together over the past couple of races and has looked untouchable. And he's put together a stonking lap here at Albert Park. He takes pole from Isaac Kush. Then Darren 11 P3, championship rival Crichton is 4th. Spicy is P5, followed by Ferrari. Then Grimmy, Vision, Contrast and Plebs rounds out the 10. Bags Liddell is P11, followed by Roscoe Arm, Karma and Wogboy. Leo had to serve a qualifying ban, and Hilles crashed out during qualifying with an accident at the exit of turn 10. Alrighty, race time. And we know that it's going to be a wet weather race at some point. That's according to the forecast. When will the rain come? And how much of an effect will that have on the race itself? When we have mixed weather conditions, it causes chaos. And it causes some really chaotic looking strategies. If drivers can time it right and get onto the intermediate tyre on the right lap at the right time, you could gain massively. Conversely, if you get on it at the wrong time, you could lose so much time. So it'd be interesting to see how this all pans out. It'd be interesting to see who starts on what tyre as well. If there is indeed rain coming at the midway phase of the race, I imagine quite a few drivers will be opting to start on the medium compound tyre. Reason being, from what I've gathered from Pacific Elite, the medium tyre, according to the game, can do between 13 to 16 laps, which is just over the halfway mark. So the medium tyre can go a fairly long way. The hard tyre would be the safer option, of course, for when the rain comes. But it just doesn't have the pace of the medium. It really does not have the pace of the medium tyre. So it'll be very interesting to see who goes with what. And of course, if we have a safety car, they'll completely change things up in terms of strategy as well. Alrighty, we're starting on what? Lights are green. We're on a formation lap. And lo and behold, yeah, a fair chunk of drivers on the mediums. I'm not surprised at all. And Gavin, you're right. A couple of drivers have gambled with the soft tyre. I mean, why not? You might as well take a gamble. It could pay off massively. You know, it could work. You see, Vision and Contrast have taken the safer option. They've gone for the hard tyre. That'll guarantee they won't need to make a pit stop before the wet weather comes. But everyone else... Oh, and Wogboy as well. Failed to notice. Sorry, Wogboy. You're on the hard tyre as well down in P14. But everyone else is on the medium compound tyre. Ford down to Ferrari Pro. Top 6. They're on mediums. Bags Liddell, Roscoe Arm and Karma. They're all on mediums. And Leo and Hilles are starting on mediums as well. I wouldn't have been surprised if these two decided to take a risk and maybe start on the soft tyre. I mean, why not? You're starting towards the back anyway. What's the worst that could happen? It's not like you can fall any further back. So that could have been an option they played, but instead they decided to go with the medium compound tyre. Look around as well. There are clouds about, but you can still see plenty of blue in the skies, so rain ain't coming yet. We got to wait a while. So yeah, it means we've got two drivers on the soft tyre, being Grimmy and Plebs. Plebs, an interesting call. He ran on the soft tyre back in Elite. It actually gave him the race win because he ran on the soft tyre. And he's going to run his luck again. And he qualified P10 as well in Pacific Elite. And he ended up winning. So maybe the stars are realigning for the Alpine driver for this race in Pacific Tier 1. But he's taking a gamble. He's on the soft tyre. 3 drivers are on the hard tyre. Vision, Contrast, and Wogboy. And everyone else is on the mediums. We've got 11 cars on the medium compound tyre. Leaders are lining up into their respective grid slots. I'll get rid of the tyre graphic for now. We'll bring it back later. And this is going to be the camera angle we have for the start. Grimmy disqualifies himself. It's really quite annoying because I don't get a good gauge on who gets a decent start. So we're going to have to quickly shift to the onboard of the leaders as soon as lights go out. But all 16 drivers are lined up ready to race. We've got 29 laps in front of us and 10 red lights, and we're underway here in Melbourne. It's a great start from G4 Sports, a great start from the AlphaTauri in the background. That might be a contrast, it has to be, as they go into turn 1 for the first time in race conditions. Is that Kush still in P2? Darren 11 PT, P3, Crichton down in P4 with Spicy right behind. Now into turn 3 we go. The field bunches up under brakes. They all get through the right-hander pretty unscathed as they head around turn 4 through this car park and towards turn 5. Leo, what a stonking start. He's up to 10th already. He's made up 5 spots off the line. Unbelievable stuff. He is on a charge. Fantastic. Plebs has made up a place. He's up into P9. Grimmy right behind Contrast as they head around this long left-hand sweeper that isn't classified as a corner as they head towards turn 9. Grimmy gets it done. So he's into P7. Next target will be Ferrari Pro in P6, but the top 6 remain the same. Ford, Kush, Darren 11, Crichton, Spicy, and Ferrari Pro. Out to turn 11 now and towards turn 12. Everybody in a nice single file line. Not quite challenging each other just yet. Oh, I thought Plez was going to go for a sneaky dive bomb there. He's got grip, he's got pace on that soft compound tyre, and he needs to make use of it now while he still has grip on those tyres and still has life in those tyres. Down towards turn 1. No one here really in a position to attack just yet. Everyone's a bit too spaced out after the first lap to try and battle one another. But what a start from Leo. Look at that, up 5 places. And contrastly, Vision is down 5. But you kind of expect that on the hard compound tyre. You just won't have the grip relative to all of those on the mediums. So you do kind of expect to go backwards. Your gains are going to come later in the race. Darren spun. Darren has spun at the exit of turn 7. He gets pointed back in the right direction and gets going again. But he tumbles down through the order, down to 14th, down to 15th. And here comes his teammate as well. Darren moves down to last place. Oh, and something's happening here. Plebs gets by Contrast. He's into P7 now. And Grimmy gets by Ferrari Pro as well, fully utilising the pace of the soft tyre. Ferrari Pro darts to the inside but can't fully commit to the move. He just doesn't have the grip to dive bomb down the inside. Unlike Grimmy, who was on the soft tyre, he could do that if he really wanted to. But he got by beforehand. Here's that Kush trying to keep up with Ford. The gap is 0.6 of a second. Crichton needs to get within that 1 second range of Kush. He needs to stick with the top 2 as they go through turns 1 and 2. Spicy following behind, followed by Grimmy, then Ferrari Pro. Plebs isn't too far behind as well, so those on the soft tyre right now, they're the ones making moves. Grimmy and Plebs moving themselves up, being nice and aggressive. They need to be on that soft compound tyre. Oh, but Plez is too aggressive. He runs wide onto the grass. He tumbles down the order. He's down to P9 now. All that hard work he has done, and he ends up in the wall. He spins into the middle of the racetrack, and he's out of the Grand Prix. Do we have a safety car? He's in the middle of the circuit, and the game says, oh, it's okay. It's absolutely fine. We have a dead car in the middle of the racetrack and no safety car. You have got to be joking. Kush has lost time to the race leader. The gap has increased to 1.5 seconds. 40 is driving away. Crichton is closing in. He's within a second of the Haas driver. But no, this is a polar opposite to what happened to Plevs in a lead. Plevs won this race. Here in Pacific Tier 1, he's out on lap 3. Down the main straightaway we go. DRS open on both of these cars, so Grimmy is able to keep Ferrari Pro at bay, and he will also get DRS here, but that doesn't help. He ran wide on the exit of turn 1, cut turn 2, he got a warning and a 3-second time penalty. Around turn 3 we go. Those soft tyres, they're going to start switching off soon. They don't last terribly long. So head around turn 5 and up towards turn 6. Ferrari Pro doing a really good job keeping up with the Red Bull driver, not letting him break away. Meanwhile, drivers behind. We've got Leo now in P8, still moving his way up. Granted, it's thanks to 2 drivers making a mistake. He gained 5 spots on the opening lap, and he's gained 2 extra spots with Darren 11 making a mistake at turn 7, and Plebs putting it into the wall, retiring out of the Grand Prix. So he's now in P8, a superb charge up through the field. And now he's going to try and line up eye contrast if he can get close enough. But Bags Liddell is closing in the Ferrari. P9 at the moment. Bags actually had a really solid race on Sunday, so he'll be looking to build on that here on the Tuesday, in the Tuesday League. Now let's see here, Crichton closing in, nowhere nearby enough. 4 tenths behind, 3.5 tenths behind, 3 tenths as these two go into turn 1 and around turn 2. Gap's now 2.5 tenths. Crichton, he's dumping his battery. He's got momentum. He looks to the outside, dives it in deep. Vision gets a penalty. They're side by side through turn 3. Crichton has the inside line and Vision spins out. That's at turn 2. Gets pointed back in the right direction and Grimmy gets a time penalty for multiple warnings. But Crichton is into P2. An audacious move around the outside. But he made it work because the following left-hander gave him the inside line and he was able to keep Izzat at bay. But not here. Oh, it's tight. It's really tight here through this flat-out section. You can see Izzat dumping battery. He makes contact with the Mercedes as they go around turn 9. Bit of understeer there from Izzat. As expected, he's in the dirty air. He'll open DRS and close in on the Mercedes here. Closing in by a rapid rate. He looks to the inside. Dives it in, contact, and around goes Crichton. Around goes the man who is P2 in the championship, who cannot afford an incident like this. He's down to P10, and that is one of the critical spots for the sake of the championship. I mentioned this in the intro. If 40 wins this race with fastest lap and Crichton finishes in 10th, Ford is champion. Now, of course, we've still got a long, long way to go in this race. It's nowhere near over. But Crichton, he's now in a really bad spot. He's got a ton of work to do, and he's not going to be happy with what happened at turn 12. He's going to be quite angry, I imagine, as down the inside goes GeForce Leo at turn 3. He's into P6 now. His next target will be F1 Ferrari Pro. Oh, and into the wall hard goes Grimmy. He loses control at the entry to turn 5. He chucks it into the wall, and we have a virtual safety car. So the debris, oh, and he's not got control still. You have to be so careful on overheating tyres. You have to drive it so carefully. It's like a shopping trolley. Oh, and he's into the wall. Oh, thank goodness he didn't retire. You have to be so careful. Alright, drivers better be paying attention to their deltas. If they're not paying attention to their deltas, well, we might have a few speeding penalties coming up. We're still under yellows. We're still waiting patiently for the VSC to disappear. This will give everyone time to cool down, rest themselves for a bit. Then they'd get themselves back into focus mode. DRS is now enabled and we're back on the green flag racing, and no one has gotten a speeding penalty during that VSC period. So well done, everyone. Kept it out of trouble and kept it out of the red. That's a really important thing. Now look at Leo. He's up 10 spots. From 15th, he's up to 5th. Fantastic. As I mentioned earlier, his next target is F1 Ferrari Pro. Gap is just over 1 second between the two cars. Grimmy pits in to repair his damaged Red Bull. He's now down in 15th place, a long way behind the next car, and we're still waiting for the first safety car. And as you can see around the racetrack, certainly become a lot greyer, a lot less blue. So, the rain is coming. Just a matter of when, not if, at this point. Through turn 9 and around turn 10. You can see how much track Crichton is cutting there. It's quite lenient down the inside of turn 10. You are allowed to cut quite a considerable amount at turn 10. You just don't want to be too greedy with it. Not only that, but you have to be careful because the curbs can play games on you. Can spin you out. So you do need to be a little bit careful. But yeah, Crichton's next target will be Bags Liddell in P7. But Bags has got a tow from the car in front, that being Eye Contrast in P6. Leo closing in, 4/10 behind Ferrari Pro. Closing in, closing in, closing in, closing in. Can't attack here. Stays behind as they head around turn 3 and around turn 4. Half a second separating these two cars. So Ferrari Pro might have a little extra wing. He was able to pull away ever so slightly from Leo. We'll see here through this middle sector what the McLaren is like relative to the Williams. So Williams pulling away here. Leo's closing in. Bit by bit. Oh no. Oh yeah. Just a little bit. There's not a massive difference between the two cars. Maybe a difference in like 1 or 2 wing, front and rear. Hello, is that? What's happened to you? Yellow flags are out. You've made a mistake. You're now down to P3. No obvious damage on the Haas from what I can see. But he's had a moment at turn 10. Brought out yellow flags just briefly. And now put Spicy into P2. Probably more importantly, this man, G-Force Ford, now has a 7-second lead at the beginning of lap 9. He is in so much control right now. He's just eking confidence out there. Putting brilliant laps together, utilising the clear air, just generally driving brilliantly. Opening DRS. Down this long straightaway towards turn 3. Leo is not closing in by enough to attack Ferrari Pro into turn 3. He is right there. He is right on the back of the Williams. But he's just not gaining enough speed in the right areas to try and challenge the Williams driver. Might have a bit of a train forming here, led by Eye Contrast in P6. We've got Bags Liddell in 7th, followed by Crichton in 8th, Karma 9th, and Hilles at the back of the train in 10th. Then it's a 5.7 second gap between Hilles and Roscoe between P10 and 11. Bags Liddell is closing in, and speaking of closing in and passing, it's G-Force Leo around the outside at turn 9, but Ferrari Pro is going to strike back. He draws alongside the McLaren as we head towards turn 11. Hard on the brakes, they're still side by side, it's tight, but Ferrari Pro, look at that. He was able to carry so much speed around the outside, he keeps P4. So that's another position gained. He's up 11 now from where he started. Around turn 13 and up towards turn 14. Bags is a lot closer this time around. Down the long main straightaway we go towards turn 1. He's not gaining enough time to attack here into turn 1. He's going to have to stay behind Eye Contrast. And now G-Force Crichton has joined the party. Down the other down the other long straightaway. Crichton looks to the inside. Couldn't fully commit to a move, but he's right on the back of Liddell's Ferrari as he heads around turn 4. Up towards turn 5. Bit of understeer there on Crichton's car. The front end didn't look like it wanted to cooperate at all. Oh, bit of a moment on the rear end as well. Sitting right in the slipstream. He's not gaining any time on Bags. In fact, he's losing it through this section. Bags closing in on Eye Contrast through turn 9. Ton of understeer there. Had to cut quite a lot at turn 10. Crichton not close enough to do anything at this point. When you're stuck in the 3rd place of a train, just can't do anything. Can't do anything at all. Grammy gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Isaac Kush, can he do anything? He is right behind Spicy. Opens DRS. Down the main straightaway we go. Closing in bit by bit. Not by enough to attack into turn 1. He has to stay behind. Through we go. Clobbering over the curbs. We head down the other long straightaway towards turn 3. Don't think Izzat would be in any position to attack. Neither is Ferrari Pro. Neither is Bags Liddell. Neither is anybody at this stage. Everyone is just too far apart, stuck in a DRS train to really do anything. This stage, just have to let the race unfold a little bit. Wait for the drama and the action to come. Crichton, he is closing in, but through this flat out section where you need low wings, you need a low downforce setup, you can see Bags just pulling away. There's nothing that Crichton can do about it. There's the rain, I believe. Yes, there it is. All right, lap 11. The rain begins. Well, here's the drama. Said that a few moments ago and it's come. The rain has finally arrived. And Izzat has moved by Spicy as well. So he's back into P2. Spicy could fight back here. If he can get a nice run through turn 13 and around the final corner of 14, he should be able to find a way by into turn 1. It's a bit even between the two cars at the exit. Spicy's close and he's using DRS. GeForce Crichton, meanwhile, gets by Bags Liddell. He's into P7 now. Next target is Eye Contrast in P6. A fair bit of catching up to do, though. 6:10 separating the two cars. They head around turn 2 and up towards turn 3. Sector 3, yellows. Grimmy's out. Is this a safety car? Is this a safety car? The answer is yes. Safety car has been deployed. Interesting. Do the drivers hop onto Inters now? That's the question. We're going to spend a couple of laps behind the safety car. They're going to be slow laps as well. It will allow the track to evolve quite considerably. There is the Red Bull on the right-hand side of the circuit. Grimmy losing control, putting it into the wall, retiring out of the race, and bringing out the safety car. We're down to 14 cars now. What does race leader GeForce 4 do? He's setting the example for everyone else. He is coming into the pits. Intermediate time, I reckon. Let's see. Nice and easy into the pits. He wants to make sure he doesn't get a time penalty. Intermediates they are. On they go. Away he leaves. Izzat's in. Spicy's in. Leo's in. Ferrari Pro's in. Eye Contrast is in. Crichton gets a penalty for cutting the pit lane entry. He'll probably get that removed. Into the pits. We all go. And it's intermediates all around. No one is taking the gamble of staying out. Oh, no, there is one. And a drive-through for vision, for speeding during the safety car period. One driver has stayed out. And that's Wogboy. He has elected not to pit. Interesting. Everyone else in. Putting on intermediate tyres. Darren 11, I'm sure he'll be coming into the pits as well. See it raining. See the raindrops on the circuit. In he comes. There'll be intermediate tyres at the ready. There they are. Up go the Jacks, on goes the Inters, and away leaves the Alfa Romeo. Nice, simple. Very clean. Alright, 40's caught the safety car. So now we're just waiting. We're letting the track evolve. You can see all the raindrops falling down. The track progressively becoming damper and damper. Has Wogboy made a magical call? Is it still too dry to be on the Inter? Or has he sort of screwed himself over? Suppose we'll find out on this lap. Will he pit? Will he stay out? You can see there's now plenty of moisture. You can see shiny spots, some sheen all over the racetrack. Yeah, he's coming in. He's realised that the track has evolved quite quickly, so he's in. Taking it nice and easy so he doesn't break the game. It's very sportsmanlike. And he comes. Inter's at the ready. On they go, and away he leaves. Interesting, interesting, interesting. So how is this going to shape the race? All that hard work 40 did on those opening laps. I mean, a grand total of nothing now. He has got Izzat, Spicy right behind him now. But on the form that he's on, you just got to say the dude's just untouchable at the moment. Really does sort of seem like the only person who can undo 40 is 40 himself at this point. He's on that sort of form. It's amazing what you can do when you're in this sort of purple zone where everything's clicking. You've got your confidence up, the setup spot on, got confidence in the car. It all just clicks, and that's exactly what he's got right now. He's untouchable. But now he's got all this work to do. Got a ton of cars stacked up behind him, hungry for some positions. So he's got to be alert on the restart. Needs to make sure he can get a pretty solid one. Now, Darren, he's catching the tail of the field. We might have a late call from the safety car here. Yes, it is. It's a late call because the game's stupid. So this gives 40 less time to properly control the field. He's only got 2 corners to control the field because the game is this stupid and has been this stupid since 2019, since I started league racing and commentating. Around the final corner goes G-Force Ford. He won't be able to take off like you would normally. He's bunching the field up, looking at them stack up. It's a car park exiting the final corner. He checks them all up. He takes off. We're back on the green flag racing here at Albert Park, and Kush's on the attack. Down the inside goes Izzat. Well, I have to say, that's the game's fault, that one. Not giving 40 proper time to set up a restart. Kush has taken full advantage of it, as he should, in all reality, and he's taken the lead. Crichton, Leo side by side. Around turn 3. Crichton, my goodness, goes around the outside of turn 3 and has the inside line at turn 4. He takes P6. Next target is Contrast, and he's right behind him. He's now trying to draw alongside as they head towards turn 6. He's in front and he's through. You don't see that all too often at turn 6 of all places. You can see him wiggling though. The car sideways as he exits turn 8. Wowee, the level of control he has is insane. To be fair, the level of control all of these guys have is pretty insane. No one's got a 2 sideways yet. No one's spun out. Everyone's keeping it under control. Vision and Roscoe Armour battling for position. Meanwhile, we have Leo right behind Eye Contrast, trying to find a way through. He looks down the inside here, down into turn 11. He gets in front, and he's through into P6. Nice move there. Nice and clean. Running wide is Roscoe Armour, I believe. He's overtaken by Darren 11 now. Well, what a restart from Izzat Kush. And as I mentioned earlier, 40, there was absolutely nothing he could do. Absolutely nothing. So, Ford, he has to try and get by Izzat. Vision is in the pits to serve his drive-through penalty because he was speeding during the safety car period. So easy to do. We've seen so many people do it in the past. So it's not a surprise that it happened to at least one driver here in this race. Crichton, Ferrari Pro. How has he pulled that off? He's gone down the inside of turn 4. He runs wide at 5. Somehow doesn't lose control of the car and keeps P4. Don't quite know how he pulled that off, but he pulled it off. And I think you're right, ACW. Rain God Zach has been activated. We've seen these sort of performances from Zach in the wet. He is something else. See, is that still leading the way? Karma and Hilles battling for position. Karma down the inside at turn 9. These guys are not mucking around. If there's an opportunity, they're damn well going for it. Hilles is close, but not quite close enough to try and retake that 9th place here at turn 11. He has to stay behind. Not going to lie, 40 looks stuck. He hasn't really looked quite close enough to attack the Haas, and he needs to get in front. He needs to get back into the lead and control of the race. Well, he's stuck behind Izzat. He just doesn't look as quick, as in control. Around turn 2, down this long straight towards turn 3. C40 just doesn't have a run. Not close enough, he's still behind. At least he's keeping himself in check. He's not making any mistakes, which is the really big thing. Crichton, meanwhile, he's now trying to close in on Spicy. You can see the Mercedes, it's dancing as he runs wide again. And he still keeps it straight. I do that, and I'm in the wall. And I'm out. Look at him. What kind of car control is that? Here comes Ford as well. 40's through. He's back into the lead. Can Kush fight back? Into turn 9 we go. He can't. Through turn 10. Onto the other long straight. Dumping his battery is that. Trying to catch up. 40 though. He can now see the cleared track in front of him. He can now get on with it. Try and pull away if he can. Around turn 12, up towards 13. Look at him! He's sideways. Sideways, sideways, sideways. And yet, he's got pace. Always marvel at how he can do that. Oh, and look at... Oh, that's what happens to me. Right, except I go into the barrier. We saw what happened with Ferrari Pro. Losing the back end at the final corner. That's what happens to me, but I end up in the barrier. Oh, what a save! A classic catch, that one. Unfortunately, he loses position, but the main thing is Ferrari Pro is still in the race. Don't quite know how he caught that, but he did, and he's still in it. Fantastic recovery. Here comes Crichton, he's closing. Around turn 6. Around turn 7. There's the race leader. He is now pulling away. He's now got that control again. He's got the pace. Crichton has got some speed though. Look at him. He is right on the back of Spicy. What's he going to do here? No way. He's not going to try this. He is going to try this. Down the inside. I thought that wasn't going to work. And he cuts in front of Spicy. He probably has to give the place back, I'd say. Overtaking illegally there. Cutting turn 10. At the moment he's staying in front. He hasn't pulled off to the side yet. Maybe he might try and hang on to the position and let the stewards argue about it post-race. Yeah, he got in front, then he cut the track at turn 10. It's a no-no. He's weaving about there. Might be listening in. Is that 1.1 seconds behind Ford? He's actually not doing a bad job keeping up with the race leader. He hasn't let him streak away. The gap's still relatively small, so is that demonstrating his wet weather prowess? I haven't said that as much as I probably should have throughout this season. Is one of the finest drivers in the wet. Far out. Crichton, could you keep it on the black stuff and not leave my heart in my mouth every time you go through turn 5? For goodness sake, he's doing a great bit of lawn mowing at the exit of turn 5, but he's not doing himself any favours as Wogboy gets a 3-second time penalty. And no one else behind is really in a position to attack. You can see the gaps, the intervals between all the drivers sitting at 8, 7 tenths. It means that the drivers are just not quite close enough to battle. And this is what you kind of tend to see in wet weather racing, where everyone sort of goes into their own little safety bubbles, because they know if they make even the slightest mistake, they're going to lose control and end up in the barrier. But then you get wet weather animals like Crichton, who pushes like he has been. And he's got this car slipping and sliding out of every corner. And he's giving it 110 to try and catch up. Through turn 1. Cutting a lot there is that Kush. There at turn 1. Crichton closing in. Utilising the slipstream provided by the car in front. Up towards turn 4. And not close enough. Still not close enough to really do anything at this point. Needs a mega run somewhere. Where will it come? Through turn 7. Look at him. Sideways, a little bit of counter steer. Sideways, a little bit of counter steer. You little bit of glass, little bit of grass. Why not? Touch the grass. There's nothing wrong with the grass. Grass is just an extension of the circuit. Hilles is out of the race. Safety car. Safety car has been deployed. There is Hilles. Out of the race, on the racing line, no less, as Ferrari Pro overtakes Lee. What's happened? Why are people checking up? Deltas, probably. That's why. Deltas, I'd imagine. Or somebody made a genuine mistake. Either or. So we're down to 13. 3 cars have now retired out of this Grand Prix. And from that, we've had two safety cars. Hilles has left the session, understandably so. So 40's got all the work to do again, but this time he's got a little creature comfort knowing that the 2 drivers behind him have time penalties. 3 seconds each. Into the pits goes Roscoe Arm. He's coming in. Maybe he has a damaged car. Maybe he just wants a new set of inters. Let's find out. Front wing looks okay. He just wants a new... Wets! Oh! Oh! I mean, hey, why not? Why not? I like that idea. I really, really, really like that idea. Because if it does go to wet weather conditions, you're now in the hot seat, essentially. Vision's put himself onto a set of intermediates. I mean, I'd take that gamble. If I'm towards the back end, chuck on the wet weather tyre and see what happens. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you're giving it a go. That's the main thing. And if it works out in his favour, then he's in a really solid position. But he needs to pray to the Codemaster gods for some more rain. Turn it into heavy wet conditions rather than intermediate. See, that unlike real life Formula 1, we actually get to see usage of the wet weather tyre. It's nice to see the blue ringed wet weather tyre every so often. It's nice. Vision still with a bit of catching up to do, so we'll flick it back to the penalty graphic because these are now starting to go in. They're going to start. Oh, here's that. Keep it on the black stuff. They're going to start playing an effect towards the end of the race. With the field bunching up like this, these penalties are going to play a huge part in determining who finishes where. Is that Kush with 3 seconds? Crichton has 3. Could potentially get a penalty removed. What is he doing there? Oh, maybe having a chit-chat with Izzat. Maybe he's still not too impressed with what happened. Darren's coming in. Full wets. Like I said with Roscoe, why not? Why not? Just take a shot in the dark. See if it works. Because if you get it right, it's a race win on the carbs. If you get it right, it's a race win. So, because we've still got a fair chunk of laps to go in this race. Still got plenty of time for everything to evolve. Fascinating to see how this all concludes. What kind of shenanigans we'll see in these final 8 and a bit laps. Sorry, 7 and a bit laps. Can't count. Yeah, Izzat's got 3 seconds. Crichton's got 3, but he got a warning for cutting the pit lane entry, so he might be able to get a warning removed. Don't know if he can get a time penalty removed. Don't know. Ferrari Pro's got 3 seconds. Safety car is in this lap. Karma's got 6 seconds. F1 Wogboy's got 3 seconds. And Vision has got 3 seconds as well. We've got plenty of drivers with time penalties they all have to deal with. Now this is giving 40 the proper opportunity to try and slow the field down and do a proper restart, rather than having to do it on the main straight and being overtaken by Izzat into turn 1. He now has a chance to try and properly set everything up allow the safety car to return to the pits and take off whenever he pleases. Alrighty. Around turn 12, he's still waiting. Still playing patient here. He's not pushing just yet. He's waiting. Oh, he might set off soon. Around the penultimate corner. He bunches him up. Here we go. Around the final corner. He begins to take off. No, he's slowing himself down. He's going to let Isaac Kush by again. Look at this. Here we go. We're back on the green flag racing here at Albert Park. Isaac not quite in a position to attack, but Crichton is close here into turn 1, but still can't quite find a way by. Isaac runs wide at turn 2 as we go down this long straight towards turn 3. They're side by side, heading towards the right-hander. Crichton looking around the long way, locking up under brakes. Both drivers get around. Oh, that's tight. That was tight. Karma down to 13th place as well. Cutting in front of the Haas there. Crichton trying to get in front. He has the inside line. He's in the dominant position. He is into P2. His next target is the championship leader, G-Force Ford. Around turn 7. Around turn 8. What a fantastic recovery from Crichton. There's still question marks though over his head, but he won't be focused on that. He's focused on the red thing in front of him. Ferrari Pro. 2/10 behind Spicy. Not close enough to attack here into turn 9. Oh, and a big dive bomb! That's Darren11 pushing Roscoe Arm off the circuit. Oh, pushing him around into the wall, I should say. Oh dear. Yeah, you can see Darren slowing down. I think that might be a signal saying, I screwed up, mate. I'm sorry. He's slowing down. He's probably going to try and let Roscoe Arm through. We'll wait and see. Around turn 14 and back onto the main straightaway. Look at Crichton sideways as he entered the main straight. 6/10 separating the top two right now. As they head down towards turn 1. Saw these two. Oh, big moment there from Crichton. Huge amount of understeer at turn 1. The Mercedes refusing to turn in. But these two were leading 1 and 2 at Abu Dhabi. Crichton stayed behind. Played a conservative game and he lost. If he gets behind Ford, I don't think he's going to play conservative twice in a row. If he gets a shot, if an opportunity arises, he will go for it. And Fordy knows this. He knows. Ferrari Pro behind Spicy. 3.5 tenths separating these two. Ferrari Pro not quite close enough to do anything at this point. We come up to turn 9, which just isn't an overtaking spot. We saw that with Darren and Roscoe, and we saw with Crichton and Spicy. So, down the straight towards turn 11. Still not close enough to attack here. Stays behind the McLaren for now. Half a second. Just over half a second at that. So they head around turn 14 and back onto the main straightaway. Here we go. Crichton. Just not quite close enough. Has to stay behind. Fordy's got pace. He has got superb pace right now. There's just not much Crichton can do right now. Darren getting by Karma. Darren on the wet weather tyre, potentially suggesting that maybe the wets were better. I think he's thrown away an opportunity for a big result. I think it's all gone now. He's a long way behind. Top two separated by 4 tenths. Then it's 2.5 seconds back to Isaac Kush. These two demonstrating once again they're in a class of their own. Up towards turn 9. Crichton just unable to get any closer. Is he going to send it in the final couple of laps? Is he going to try and win it? Is he going to try and win it or bin it? That's what he told me last week. The gap's hovering now at 7.5 tenths. Crichton doing all he can. 40. He's matching. Oh, a bit of a sideways moment there. 40's just on form. Oh, sideways from Crichton. They're both giving it some. Fantastic bit of driving from the pair. Down the main straightaway goes this midfield pack. You can see the gaps. No one really in a position to do anything. So we're going to have to keep our eye on the top two. Separated by 7/10 with 4 laps to go here at Albert Park. Through turn 3, you can see the sparks flying from underneath the Ferrari. As they head around turn 5, 40 trying to pull away. Gap at 8/10 between the top two. Through turn 6, around turn 7 and around turn 8. Oh, another moment there from Crichton. Oh, and as he goes onto the grass. Oh, and 40's slowing down. He's made a mistake somewhere. And here comes Crichton. Is this the window of opportunity he was looking for? Can't go for a move at turn 9. It's almost suicide if you go for a move there. But he's got to run. Dumping his battery. So is Ford. 2/10 separating them. Into the corner. He sends it in deep. Contact. And off the road goes Ford. Off goes the race leader. Bound to be controversial stuff, but Crichton saw a window of opportunity and he sent it in. Meanwhile, a battle is on for third. Leo looking round the long way here on Isaac Kush. As we head towards the final corner, Leo gets in front. Once again, it's a G-Force 1, 2, 3. It's not over yet for the race win, of course. The gap between the top two is 2.5 seconds. Current race leader has a 3-second time penalty. That is going to play a pretty decent sized factor when the checkered flag comes out, or it's tied between Spicy and Izzat. As they head around turn 4, the McLaren gets in front. Ferrari Pro just behind as well in P6 as they head around turn 5. Up towards turn 6, 7 and 8. Izzat just doesn't quite have the pace at the moment. Ferrari Pro trying to draw alongside. What an audacious move. Oh, he loses control, but gathers it up. And that's why Izzat is so slow. He's got a missing end plate. It's costing him precious downforce. Through turn 9 and around turn 10. Ferrari Pro looking left and right. Now drawing alongside. Now getting in front. P5 now for the Williams driver. Oh, Izzat looking left and right to try and find a way back through. He goes onto the grass. He locks up, runs wide. Rotates the car quite quickly, but now leaves himself vulnerable to high contrast. Oh, around turn 12, Contrast can't find a way by. He stays in P7. Back onto the main straight away go the two leaders. Crichton with 2.7 seconds in hand, but with a 3-second time penalty to boot. Is that coming in? Yep, Izzat's coming in. Can't stay out for any longer. The gap's now increased to 3 seconds between the top two. Send was coming from Crichton. He well and truly sent it. 40 getting very much a short end of the stick in that exchange. They are friends, these two, and typically they battle clean. Very, very rarely do you see contact between the two. This is one of the rare instances where you do. I'm not going to be surprised if that's going to be put up to the stewards as well. Would not be surprised at all. Around turn 10, down towards turn 11. Gap's 3.1 between the top two. Leo in P3. Got his teammate behind, giving him pressure, but he's got a relatively clear track in front. 5.3 seconds up to Ford. Sector 2 yellows. Is that Kush? It must be. It is. Gets himself going. And what could have been for Izzat. He's looking at a pretty decent result, potentially top 5 finish. Roscoe taking it steady, trying to get to the end, I think. Darren 11 overtaking Vision, it seems. We begin the final lap. Through turns 1 and 2. The gap sitting at 3.4 seconds. 40 in P2, keeping it calm, keeping it cool. He needs to make sure he makes it to the finish. There's probably going to be a fair bit of post-race discussion after this. I'm sure these two will have some interesting words to say about what happened during that. Leo, meanwhile, still has the pressure of his teammate Spicy and Ferrari Pro in P5, the ever-consistent Ferrari Pro. Yellows are out, it's Roscoe. I think he's trying to slow down so he doesn't have to do an extra lap. That's what I'm thinking he's trying to do. He's got a lot of slowing down to do. A lot of checking up. Through turn 9 and around turn 10. Chrysler gets through that unscathed. 40 gets through it unscathed. Leo's under pressure. Spicy's right there. So long as Leo keeps his eyes forward, he should take third. Around turn 12, sideways. As you can see, Roscoe slowing down, trying to put himself a lap down. As we head around the final corner for the final time and back onto the main straightaway. Well, it's merely provisional, but GeForce Crichton will win the Australian Grand Prix. Karma's retired out of the race as well, and Ford will finish in P2. Merely provisionally, though. Here comes Leo. It's P3 for him. A GeForce. 1, 2, 3. Once again. Spicy P4, Ferrari Pro P5, I Contrast P6. That's a dead Aston Martin. Bags of Dell in 7th, Wogboy in 8th. Darren 11 in 9th, followed by Vision. Isaac Kush will be our final driver to cross the finish line in P11. Karma retiring out of the race, crashing out. Isaac doing a pretty solid job replicating that. Not quite retiring. Hey, I did a pretty good job getting control of that car. GeForce Leo given driver of the day. Completely deserved. After a qualifying ban, he made his way up from 15th to finish on the podium in 3rd. A brilliant drive. But down the winner's corridor, when it loads up. Oh, we're going to have the same thing from last week where we don't get to see the final results. That'd be really bloody annoying if that's the case. Yeah, down the winner's corridor walks GeForce Crichton, but as I said, that's only provisional. It's probably going to be some stewarding inquiries after this one. But right now, he's our race winner. With GeForce Ford in P2, Leo completing the podium places in 3rd. So, are we going to get unofficial results? Or are we just going to have a loading screen? Like last week. Probably going to be a loading screen like last week. I love F122. I love how efficient this game is. I love it. Good to hear that you enjoyed the rain, Ferrari Pro. You drove pretty well, I'd say. Yep, there it goes. Bloody thing. Everybody was power sliding Ferrari Pro. Everyone was losing traction under acceleration. It had to take some pretty good driving to keep those cars straight. And I imagine quite a few people ran dry setups for that one too. And as we saw in Pacific Elite, dry setups in the rain aren't fun. Not even a little bit fun. But no, for the second week in a row, the game decides to screw with me and not show me the final results. So that's brilliant. Bloody thing. I'll tell you what, I'm going to hop into a different party that has the 3 podium finishes in it. We're going to have a chit-chat. Be back in a minute. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. So we'll leave this. We open up a new one. This one. That should still be working just fine, hopefully, maybe. It should be working. Yeah, that did work. Alright, hello Ford.
Hello.
Hello. Sound a little bit dejected.
Got a bit to talk about, I think.
Don't we ever? Hello Leo.
Hi mate.
Mate, 15th to 3rd, not a bad effort.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
I'd imagine. Man, that charge up through was fantastic, backing up 5 positions on lap 1 as well. Gee whiz. Yeah, no, audio should be working. I'll tell you what, seeing as I have you two here, we'll start the interviews now, and then when or if Zach arrives, we'll talk to him later. But we'll start the podium interviews, and we'll start with you, Mr. Leo. As I mentioned, 15th to 3rd. That's a huge effort around here in particular. It's not the easiest place to make overtakes. But it must have been a tad bit frustrating to have a qualifying ban for your home race of all places.
Yeah, it was frustrating, but it's not my home race. I'm New Zealand.
Oh, yeah, shit. Well, yeah, shit. That's right.
So good. Yeah, it was frustrating, but I'm not really in championship, so it's just a bit of fun, I guess. And it was fun.
But yeah, heading into the race itself, so you didn't have to participate at all in qualifying. What kind of setup did you have on the car?
Yeah, well,
I tried it.
I tried to focus on the race more, but I tested it in before the race, and it seemed fine, seemed good, and then it was very oversteery, and when I actually started using it, which was weird. Like through the high speed, it was really scary, but that was affecting my pace a bit. I think the whole dry stint.
Fair enough.
Shame.
But, you were one of, I think, 11 people who elected to start on the medium compound tyre. Made full use of them straight away. Made up 5 spots on the opening lap. Just got a really good start. Just drove by everyone.
Yeah, and then just pick your way through and I don't know, spot the gap and go for it.
Pretty much. No, you made some pretty nice moves here and there up through the field. Well, granted, you made up 5 spots on the opening lap. You made up another 2 thanks to 2 drivers crashing and giving you those spots. But then you started to catch up towards the likes, well, I believe, your teammate in Ferrari Pro, if I recall. But I'm guessing throughout that opening stint, after you had that really nice start, making your way up through, it was basically just a waiting game until the rain came.
Yeah, basically I was struggling on that setup, and I was like, I know it's going to be better in the rain.
Yep.
I was waiting for that, but then the safety car, wait no, it was the pit stop first, and then I was behind Spicy, which was annoying, and I lost those 2 positions. And I think I got them back. Yeah, it's always annoying, but I got them back, and then the rain was alright. I think I got back those 2 positions, and then I was behind Izzat, and I was kind of just waiting for him to crash, to be honest. You kind of tell when he's going to crash. He crashes a lot, so I was kind of just sat back waiting for him.
It does happen with Izzat every so often, but you mentioned that you weren't too happy with the car in the dry, but in the wet it definitely came to you?
Yeah, it was a lot better in the wet. Once I got past Izzat though, I was just kind of chilling. I was managing the gap to Spicy behind.
Yeah.
Wasn't pushing too hard because it was pretty tricky. It was very wet at the end. That was good.
But it wasn't too difficult adapting to the wet weather conditions? Got onto it pretty quickly?
Yeah, it was fine. I don't think I was very quick. I was kind of being a bit safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us could probably relate to that. When you got the changing of conditions during a race, you sort of have to gauge yourself in the conditions, sort of pace yourself before you start really pushing. So I can relate to that quite a lot. But yeah, no, you had your teammate right behind you, giving you a little bit of a hard time towards the end, keeping you alert, keeping you awake. But no, held them off, and you ended up finishing P3. Another podium place for you. Oh.
Yeah, pretty good day, I think.
Yeah, pretty solid, especially after a quali ban. Like, get a podium after that, not a bad effort at all. So, no, really well done. But, I think this, will it put you in front of Spicy? You might be tied. It'll be close between you two now. You finished
points.
You'd gain 3 points. I think there's 4 points separating the two of you.
Oh, jeez.
No, it's 3 points, so you two are tied.
Oh, so I gotta beat him.
Yep, if you beat Seb over the 2 races we have next week, you're third in the championship.
There we go, that'd be good.
Speaking of next week, Jeddah. How do you think you're gonna go?
I quite enjoy that track. It's quite satisfying to drive, I think.
Fair enough.
I don't know if I'm that quick, but I do enjoy it, so we'll see.
Sprint race format as well. 2 races for one. So,
yeah, I don't know, we'll see. I'm not very good at the race, so usually my strength is more the quali, so probably not a good thing, but...
Get to the front, try and drive away. That'll be your goal.
Easier said than done.
Best of luck, man, for next week.
Right.
But for now, congratulations on a really great drive. And deserving driver of the day, too. Well done.
Oh, thank you.
But, alright, you two. Alright. Ford, we'll start with you. We'll start off with qualifying, eh?
Yeah.
16-7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good lap.
What's with you with good laps recently? Like, it's all just clicking.
Yeah, we've got the pace, Lane. It's been good recently in quali. I think that's 6 poles in a row now. So we've definitely been there this season. I think it shows I've been really good with the car this season on that pace, and it's always that final run in quali as well where I'm improving by a lot. So yeah, not really letting pressure gets me too much.
Now, knowing racing drivers, there's always time on a qualifying lap, isn't there?
There is, yes.
You felt there was a little bit more in that?
Yeah, you might have caught the end of it in Sector 3 there, I'm not sure if you did. That heavy braking zone going into the third sector, I on the exit, going power a little bit too soon, had a pretty big wheel spin, probably lost about maybe half a tenth to a tenth, but otherwise the lap was like, yeah, it was pretty good. Obviously to be a 16.7, it has to be good, so yeah, I was pretty happy with it.
But, no, allowed yourself to line up a pole, started on the medium compound tyre, and again, nailing off the start. It was a good start. Yeah,
no, exactly what I needed. The drive period was absolutely perfect, to be fair. I think I got towards like an 8 second gap at one stage there. I kind of just kept pulling away from whoever came behind me, which is good. So, yeah, no, it was definitely a positive race start, and it was just keep the head down from there.
Mm-hmm. But, no, it was a brilliant first opening stint. I was talking about it as well. When you're out in front, you're in control. You're just so much faster, and you look really bloody fast. Just seriously. And I think it was at lap 9, you ended up having a 7-second gap to P2. You built up a huge margin. And then the safety car comes along and sort of ruins it for you.
Yeah, it's exactly what I didn't need. It was a bit like last week as well, to a degree, I think, with the safety car coming out at the wrong time there. So yeah, if we have to work against it, I guess. But yeah, I was pretty indecisive whether or not Inters would have been the best decision to do at the time. Thankfully they were. The rain just got heavier, so I didn't have to worry about that too much. But then yeah, again, it was. I think that one Izzo actually got a pretty good restart on me.
Yeah.
The safety car restart there, so that was probably the worst safety car restart I've done. But yeah, it was head down, as I said, even in the first stint. It doesn't matter how much you're leading by. You know, every lap's the same, otherwise you lose concentration. So, yeah, it was, even though it was way a bit more difficult, you know, we just piled on the pressure.
For that safety car restart, I actually put majority of the blame, not necessarily on yourself, but more so on the late call from the safety car. It never really gave you enough opportunity to try and slow the field down and let you control it, so you can probably do a restart.
That's it. It didn't help, and my tyres were cold on top of that as well. So yeah, it definitely didn't help. But yeah, you know, we still probably could have gone at a different time and held that position. So you know, it's something to learn from as well.
But yeah, you were stuck behind Izzat for a while, and it looked really tough to find a way by for a few moments. You were always stuck at about 4/10, 3/10 behind. You really couldn't find your way by, and then an opportunity arose, and you finally moved by him.
Yeah, he made that mistake, and yeah, that's where I was able to push through.
Yeah, and when you got in front, how confident were you with the cars? Actually, that's something I missed. What kind of setup was it? Was it full dry? Was it sort of a hybrid wet-dry setup?
Definitely, like, the foundations were dry, probably I'd say 90% dry, and, you know, accounting maybe for the winds and a little bit of ride height for the wet. So, yeah, I'd say 90% dry, and we just kind of tweaked it a little bit to get that wet phase in.
So how was it adapting to the conditions?
My eyes opened up pretty quick to it, I suppose, after that restart. You know, I felt like, you know, I have to get my head straight in the game, otherwise Zach's going to run away, and obviously Zach's coming up behind me. So, yeah, you know, and that's what I did. I think I was able to get back in the lead and then pull the gap on Izzat as well, and Zach, and pretty much just lap to the same lap times as them. They weren't really closing and they weren't really falling too far back. It was just pretty conservative driving, I'd say. I probably could have pushed more if I needed to, but I was doing all I needed to. So yeah, no, that was that.
And thankfully you did, because boom, another safety car.
Yeah, exactly. Thankfully it came, you know, I was able to know a little bit later on, earlier on this time that it was going in, which was good. But I still probably didn't get the restart I wanted to. Obviously I led, but Zach was able to get through that, so maybe I should have kept it a one line sort of restart, but you know, as I said, something to learn from with those restarts.
But yeah, no, Zach managed to get by Izzat into P2, and eventually he was on your gearbox, and you made a mistake. Was it at turn 8 that you? Yeah,
exactly where Izzat made his. Yeah, I think all of us were sideways, pretty much going through that corner every lap, especially as the track got wetter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I just flicked my battery on maybe a little bit touch too early, and it just snapped my car in the wrong direction. So I was lucky not to get wind damage there, to be honest.
Yeah. And then Zach managed to get on your gearbox, heading towards turn 9. Both got through there, okay. And then you're heading down towards turn 11. Take us through it, on your point of view.
I think it's pretty clear cut, Lane. I don't think I have to comment too much, and I'll leave it up to the stewards for most part of it. But you know, I'm 2.5 tenths in the wet ahead going into that corner, which tightens a lot at the apex. And you know, look back on replays, and I don't think Zach's car is facing anywhere near the corner direction. So I've even opened up the steering, still gone off track. Yeah, I don't think there's much more to it. I'll leave it at that.
Fair enough. But once Zach got by, you had dirty tyres, so you had to clear all the dirt. Gaps started to open up, and you weren't quite able to keep within that 3-second range towards the end.
Yeah, I think he might be getting that 3-second removed anyway. I'm not sure what it was for, but
well,
yeah.
I think one of the warnings he copped was for ridiculous cutting the corner warning, but he was entering the pits.
Yeah, interesting. But either way, I wasn't taking that into account. I wasn't trying to hold it in 3-second range. I was just trying to drive the best I could regardless.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was yeah, that first lap after I was on the gravel there was pretty difficult to yeah, control the tyres again. But otherwise, yeah, I thought I drove a pretty good race. Pretty much led every lap of the race there. Yeah, but bar the last ones after that incident.
Yep. But no, a P2 finish, which still isn't too bad. The main thing, I suppose, is that you kept the car out of the barriers in those final few laps, and you kept the car in check, brought it home to the finish, keeping it only as a 7-point loss on your end, provisionally of course. But I do believe that will reduce the gap down to 10.
Yeah, I got fast lap as well, which was handy. That was, it was smart thinking to push on lap 3, I think it was, to just, burn my battery, get the fastest lap before it started raining.
See, I would know that if the game bothered to show me the final result.
Yeah, I was hoping someone might have told you the weather.
But okay, so that's actually a 6-point swing then, in Crichton's favour. So 11 heading into the next round, which is at Jeddah.
Yes.
How do you feel heading into next round?
Pretty confident with it. Yeah, Jeddah's always a nice track. Be pretty intense, I think, for the most part. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Hopefully, no lucky safety cars for Zach this time to help me out a bit more. Last 2 races we've seen that, but yeah, we definitely got the pace, so be interesting.
Sprint race as well. Tend to do all right in those. So.
Pretty good record, yeah. Provided we don't lose the car like we did at Brazil. It's
yeah.
Keep
that in check. You're looking all right.
Yeah, exactly right.
But for now, Mr. Ford, congratulations on your P2 finish and best of luck for next week for the final round of the championship.
No, thank you. Cheers, Lane.
But move on to you, Mr. Crichton. Captain Controversial tonight, aren't we? But hey, I get it.
If you want to call me that, you can.
I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. But we've got a couple of things to talk about. First off, though, qualifying. P4 at the end of qualifying. How was the session?
Yeah, not my best, Lane. I probably should have done more practice. I was working up until 7:50, so I didn't really get enough laps as I wanted to. But I was quite happy with the setup. It was stable, and I think my first run was actually looking really, really good. And then I just got invalid, and then that's kind of where my session went slightly downhill after that. And I couldn't really maximise the session really, because I was definitely looking at a 0.9 was my main goal, because I knew that should hopefully be front row. So, but yeah, no, we're a long way from that. I think I did a 0.1 or something like that.
Yeah, but start as well. It wasn't bad, but unfortunately, you just couldn't make up any places off the line.
Yeah, no, it's such a short run as well into turn 1, so I was kind of like, I'll probably be stuck here in P4, which I was, and just had to try and save my battery there for the first couple of laps, and then Reece spun off, and I was like, thank you very much. And then I could just save as well for a couple of laps, and then closed up on Cush there.
Yeah, turn 11. Because you two came together.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if you saw, but I did a crazy move on him through turn 3. So I went around the outside.
Yeah, around the outside.
Which is crazy move. Which probably the first time I've done a move like that, Lane, since last season. Like you told me to pull my finger out and actually do some passing.
You did one in the wet as well, I remember.
Yeah, I did. I didn't make. Yeah, I think I did a few around the outside there. But yeah, no, that was the first one, and straight away I was smiling because I knew that actually, I was driving how I used to drive and so on. So yeah, I was happy with that pass.
Yep. But yeah, no, that spin with Izzat puts you back big time.
Yeah, massive. I think I was back in like P9 or something, Lane. Like, I don't know what he was doing. He just went in for a massive dive bomb and tagged my rear, which was annoying. And then, by the time I got going, I was down in P9, P10 or something. Yeah. But yeah, because my main goal was if I could just be like 3, 4, 5 seconds behind Bailey heading to the rain, then that was the main thing. Yeah. But then that spin occurred.
Well, that performance that you had at Interlagos demonstrated your pace in the wet, so understandable 100%. For that sort of goal.
Yeah.
To stay within a certain range and then attack when the wet comes.
Yeah.
That's smart thinking. But now you were on the back foot after the spin. You had to try and recover our places, making your way up through the field. Did a pretty decent job, I think. 7th, I think you got up to before the safety car came out.
Yeah.
It was a bit tough to move yourself further than that because you were stuck in a DRS train.
I was, but then I still found it quite easy to pass, I'd say, in the rain. Like, once we were going, I think I passed Leo straight away, and then Contrast had a slight moment and I passed him as well.
Yeah, you did it down the inside of turn 6.
Yeah, exactly, and then luckily he gave me just enough room there, which was nice, and then from there I just had to save just a little bit of battery and just slowly close up on Seb. That was the main thing, just slowly just try and eke away. Because I was hoping that there was going to be another safety car, which there was.
Yeah. Well, there's a moment before that I want to allude to that I did catch. You were catching up to Seb, you mentioned that. You eventually caught up to Seb. And you had a crack, of all places on the circuit, turn 9. So this is controversial moment number 1 for you. You managed to go down the inside and you get in front. But obviously you overshot the corner with how much speed you carried in. And the line that you had through the turn. And you ended up cutting the inside of turn 10. And then rejoining, and you never gave the position back. So
nah. So I was ahead going in there, and then I just slightly locked up the front left. And then I got a warning going through there. Then I just had to back off a little bit, so the gap was the same. But no, that was pretty risky for me because I locked up the inside, and I was like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah.
But I managed to bring it back.
Do you think Sebastian would report that in?
Oh, I don't know. And so it depends if Bailey asks him to or not. But yeah, no, I don't really mind.
Not me, mate. I've got my own one to report.
But
that's true.
yeah, no, I don't think so because I was always going to pass him. Because he would have been wide on the next one, and I would have got switched back. But yeah, no, I feel like I've done a fairly good job just trying to get back the time, heading down to the next corner anyway.
Also did a little wiggle in front of Sebastian as well, I noticed, down the main straight. Were you talking to him, or...?
No, I wasn't talking to him, no. Okay. Just me, just being silly, mucking around.
Fair enough. But, I believe after you passed Sebastian, you were in the P3 or P4? Was it P3?
Yeah, I think it was P3,
You had Izzat and Ford.
So at that stage I knew that my pace was much better than those guys ahead, so I just had to just be patient because I think at that stage there was still 9 laps left, so I just knew I had to slowly catch up to Kush and pass him, and then I'd be able to just catch up to Bailey. So I was quite happy again with my rain pace. I think I showed it here fighting through from P7 as well, but yeah.
Also forgot to mention with that first safety car period, with the penalty that you got, the 3 seconds that you got, you did get a warning from going into the pits?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I thought you did. I remember the penalty popping up.
Yeah, I don't know how, don't ask me how, but it popped up.
Great game. I think
shit game, I got it and I was like, what the fuck is this? So, yeah, straight away I was like, oh, make sure I clip that. But yeah, not too sure what happened there with that one, it was strange, it was weird.
Okay. But second safety car restart, you had Ford, is that yourself? Were you surprised how late Ford went?
No, not really, because he did that on the first one, so I'd say it was better for me that he went later anyway, because I could just try and get a run on.
That's why I'm saying,
Kush.
Are you surprised by it? Because as he pointed out,
a little bit. I'd say,
yeah,
if it was me, I probably would have went straight away, because then it probably would have meant I'd say it was another 1 to 2 seconds behind him, but I was thankful when I saw that.
But no, you got by Izzat, was it at turn 3 you got by?
Turn 3, around the outside again, I think it was, Lane. Yeah, it was,
I think that's the pass around the outside I can remember in the wet. And you got yourself into P2, and now it's you and Ford all over again. We've seen this countless times in the past, and it happened again, to no surprise here in Australia. And you couldn't quite make any massive inroads for some time. You were stuck.
Yeah, I was kind of stuck there. I was just chilling there. I tried a few times to use the battery and it didn't really do nothing for me. Yeah. So I was just going to sit there and wait for a slight mistake, which I did. And that was my it's like I'd say, it's weird. Like I'd say my pace was much better, but I'd say being stuck behind, I just couldn't do nothing about it. I was just trying to sit there and slowly catch up and just wait for a mistake there. Yep.
And the mistake did come. Came at turn 8. Ford made a mistake, and you closed up right behind his gearbox. Yeah. And I'm guessing you used your experiences with Seb that going down the inside of turn 9 isn't really the best of ideas.
I probably would have done it. I'd say, to be honest, Lane, if I was a bit closer, I would, 100% would have done it. Like, I thought about, like, say I was closer, I would have done it. Like, I thought about it, and I was like, nah, Zach, that's a bit too far. I just tried to slot back in there and try and get a nice run through the chicane there, which I managed to do.
It wasn't completely perfect though. You did lose a smidgen amount of time.
Yeah,
but that's
smidgen.
expected when you're buried up behind the car in front and just.
And plus, I was trying to not get another warning as well, so that was my other thing too. I was just trying to be half cautious, but also push at the same time, which never really works out for you.
But you're 2.5 tenths back, and I'm riding on board with you because I have a feeling I know what's coming. And what came was what I was thinking.
Was what you thought?
Yeah, big old send down the inside. And like I said before this interview started, I get it. Absolutely, I get it. But it was a big old dive bomb from a long way back. What's your opinion of it?
Oh, it's fine on my end. So if I got a nice run out of the chicane, just heading down there, just used my battery a little bit, and then just broke a bit later because I knew that Bailey was braking a fair bit earlier than me, so I just braked, then just hit the apex and turned it in, just drove off.
Okay, so you feel like you did make the apex and you...
Oh yeah, I made the apex and I made the corner and, yeah.
Alright. Good to hear both of your opinions, thank you for those. But after that, you had a clear track in front of you and you pulled away. Yeah,
I knew I was much quicker through the corners. I'm not sure if Bailey was running less wing or what, but he was catching me a fair bit down the straights. Because I think the gap went down to 2.2 or something, and then I was like, oh shit. And then, as soon as we got to the corners, I managed to pull it all the way back up to 3 seconds and just slowly try and, just bring that up to 3.5 seconds as well, which I did. So, no, I was happy with that. Those last few laps, because I was like, oh shit, stuff like Bailey might catch me, but luckily I managed to pull away, which was good as well, to show them why I'm the best in the rain.
But at the end, you ended up taking the checkered flag, you ended up building enough of a gap to 40 to keep the race win.
3.5 something, yeah.
3.7 I think it might have been at the line. But no, for now it's a race win, but as you've heard from 40, there's probably going to be reports coming, so...
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I'm just happy that I found myself on my passing and stuff again. Because I'd say what you said to me was in the back of my head, and I was just, I just wasn't happy with that. And I'd say what I did tonight definitely has, I don't know, like I'm not going to say, but it's definitely told me like a few things which I need to keep doing for the future because it's going to work.
No, you had some brilliant overtake, like that overtake around the outside at turn 3 was one of the best moves I've seen. I couldn't quite fathom that you pulled it off. And you're wet weather driving today. I don't understand you even a little bit. I don't get it. You're sideways tricking everywhere and you're still fast. It boggles me. But you said last week when it'll bin it, well you won it for now. Putting yourself in a better position for the sake of the championship as well. Yeah,
exactly. Well, what I think is like 11 points or something now, and that's just, that's fine, that's easy achievable as well heading into Saudi, so no, I'm looking forward to that one. It should be good. But no, definitely my raw talent showing through tonight again in the rain. Smoked everyone, so stoked with that.
But how do you feel about the Jeddah Corniche circuit with these F122 cars?
Who knows, I haven't really done many laps there, but pretty sure I won there last season, so we'll see if that's a good omen or not. But
you did.
I did. I checked.
Of course you did.
I checked before I come in here. So I won that last season, so we'll see how we go there. But I'm sure I should be sweet going to there as well.
Best of luck for next week, and best of luck to yourself and Ford.
Good stuff. No, good job on Bailey and Leo for the podium as well.
GFS 1, 2, 3 once again.
Yeah, exactly. And Bailey's quality's pace been crazy as well this season. So I think he beat my most consecutive pole. So nice job on that one, Bailey.
Thank you.
But, for now, best of luck for next week, Zach, and congratulations for now winning the Australian Grand Prix.
Cheers, boy.
I think, folks, I'll wrap everything up. An interesting race, full of drama, action, and some good old-fashioned racing. Stuff that we all love to see. I think with everything said and done, it's time for us to end the stream. I've been LaneEveringham. Thank you all so much for watching. Excuse me. And we'll see you next week for round 15, the final round of the championship at the Jeddah Corniche circuit for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Until then, it's goodbye.